Welcome to Sure Jan Podcast. I'm your host, Janice M., where we'll be talking about what it's like being single and dating in your 20s and 30s. So let's get some wine and popcorn and get real about what it's really like. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sure Jan Podcast. I'm your host, Janice M., and I hope everyone out there is having an amazing day, amazing week, and if you aren't, I am sending you positive vibes. What's up, guys? It has been a crazy May for me. So many stuff going on in my personal life that I'm just like, oh my god. I got some dick, so woo. I'm like, I got some dick. Yeah, so we're gonna get into that before I kind of really get into the nitty-gritty of the episode, but so let me tell you a little bit of background about this kid, right? So he is younger than me. I think he was like 24. Yeah, he's 24. And you guys know I'm 32, so yes, definitely, age difference, and I feel like different stages in life. So he was like, we matched on Bumble. And, I did my opening line, and then we were, like, talking, and then, like, I kind of knew it wasn't one of those situations where it was gonna be, like, oh, we're gonna talk, we're gonna date, we're gonna do these things. Like, I knew it was gonna be a very casual, it may be a one and done kind of fuck. Like, I knew, like, that's where his intentions were, just when we were, because he plays basketball. Like, I don't know if I ever told you guys or ever mentioned it on this podcast, but I love basketball. That's one of the sports that I absolutely, can I not talk? Absolutely, like, love is basketball. Like, I can watch basketball all day, all night, right? And so I saw that, like, he was, like, talking about me being, like, a former, like, like, an athlete that I used to, play all the time. And so we were, like, we connected on that level. And so we were talking. And then he ends up sending me, so he's like, oh, I'm getting ready for work, or I was getting ready for something. And then he sends me a picture, okay? And mind you, we're still talking on Bumble. And he sends me a picture. Sorry about that. My freaking didn't mute my laptop. And he sent, like, I'm like, okay. And I look at the picture, and mind you, I'm at work while I'm talking to this man on Bumble. And I look at the picture, and it's him in his boxers. And I'm like, okay. So I tap on it to get, like, a bigger view of what it was. And it's, like, boxer briefs, and I can see an outline of his dick. Now, mind you, I was like, holy fuck, this dude has a big ass dick. And yes, this is like what I want. Like, I need this because, I was like, oh shit, like, okay, I see what I'm working with. Like, I like it. And so I was like, all right, I'm talking to a guy with a big dick. Like, this is, and he's not bad looking, like, he's pretty cute. So I'm like, okay, like, let's see what this is working with. And, I feel like past dicks that I've experienced, especially the last two that I've, like, dealt with, I mean, I was very underwhelmed, I should say, about their size. So I was very underwhelmed by their dicks. And yeah, which is, last person was Prince Albert, and the guy that's, like, the one that, like, kept telling me how much fucking money he made that, like, fucking hurt my throat by, like, because he thought, like, he was in some fucking porn, and, like, yeah, let me deep throat my fucking dick in your throat so, like, you can, like, be in a lot of pain the next couple of days. This is the plan. You know what I mean? But anyways, besides the point. So when I saw it, I was like, my fucking eyes lit up like I was like a kid in a fucking candy store. And I was like, okay. And then obviously in true 24-year-old fashion, he's like, oh, do you have Snapchat? And I'm like, of course I have fucking Snapchat. And I'm like, yeah, like, and I give him my Snapchat, and then he, like, adds me immediately. And then he just, like, kind of starts sending me, now he's, like, sending me snaps, like, consistently, right? And so, I'm looking, whatever, and, he's sending me, like, a lot of, I was, like, telling him how I was at work, and he's, like, sending me, like, a lot of pictures, and I was, like, I was, like, hey, like, before you kind of send me anything, before you send me these pictures, I was, like, before you send me anything, I am at work, so, like, try not to send any, and he kind of was, like, no, I'm not going to send you anything, like, whatever, and, like, kind of, like, and the way he said it to me was like, why would I even say that? And I'm like, bro, you sent me like an unprovoked, unsolicited like picture of you like in your boxer briefs, like with an outline of your dick to show me what the fuck you were working with. So I actually can't put shit past you right at this point. Like I cannot put anything past you at this point. So anyways, I'm like, we're talking on Snapchat, like we're Snapchatting, chatting, whatever. And he like says like, hey, like I don't even understand why he like, I don't know if I was giving out that vibe or whatever, but he goes like, he's like, can I actually tell you something? He's like, I kind of feel like I can tell you something and I know you're not going to judge me for it because I just am getting that vibe from you. And I'm like, yeah, shoot. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck is this man about to tell me? Like, is he gonna tell me something that I'm gonna be like, what the entire fuck? Let me like fucking block, restrict, never talk to you again, man. So he goes, yeah, so I did porn for like 2 years. And I was like, wait, come again, what? He goes, yeah, I did porn for 2 years. And so like, obviously, like, my mind is racing and I'm like, oh my God, this is like great, like, shit that I can talk about in my, like, with you guys, you know what I mean? So I'm like, tell me more, right? And oh my God, I did this, like, what the fuck is going on with me right now? Like, with my, like, laptop and me not, like, turning this shit fucking off. I apologize, guys. It will not happen again. I literally just put it on mute. Anyways, so, he's like sending me, first he sends me like pictures of him. Like he sent me a lot of like basketball pictures, like, of him playing and stuff and dunking, all that shit. Like clearly I could tell he was really trying to impress me, right? He was really trying to impress me. And then then he was just kind of like commenting on how, how attractive he found I was and, how he liked my body and blah, 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 the little shit. Then we start getting into the nitty-gritty. Now we're sexting, okay? Because, conversation got a little spicy. Now we're fucking sexting. And, oh, sorry. Let me rewind because I'm like jumping ahead. So, obviously when my eyes lit up with him, like, telling me that, and, like, my ears were, like, buzzing when he was telling me that he fucking did porn for, like, 2 years. And I'm like, how the fuck did this even, like, manage to happen? Like, how did this, like, happen? Like, how did this come about? Like, what the fuck made you get into it? And, like, he was like, oh, he's like, I accidentally fucked a porn star. And I was like, wait, how do you accidentally fuck somebody? Like, what line are we crossing here? Like, what? Like, what the fuck, what does that even mean? And, like, I was just like, okay, like, what does that even mean? And he was explaining to me, like, he was, hooking up with this girl. She was a little older than him. And, like, the way they fucked and, like, how big his dick was, she was just like, ooh, like, you should definitely do porn. And, like, kind of got it in his, like, kind of got it in his head or whatever. And, like, he's just kind of like, so in my mind, as he's telling me this, I'm like, okay, either one, you're trying to really, like, I don't know if you're thinking that you're impressing me and, like, obviously, like, nice little flex of, like, telling me you have a big dick. Okay, I get it. Like, got it. Thanks. And so I'm like, okay. And then, I was just like, okay, so, like, what made you, like, not, like, do it anymore? And he's just, he's like, he like said something like kind of stupid, and then he was just kind of like, yeah, like, you know, it just kind of like wasn't for me anymore. It kind of had done its due diligence, and then he was just kind of like, he's like, yeah, I got really like addicted to cream pieing, and I just kind of looked at him and I was like, like, not obviously he wasn't in front of me, but like I'm like looking at my phone like, what? But you know, my stupid ass, I didn't like swore me away. I still was fucking talking to him, and we're talking and stuff, and like he's telling me that, and I was like, oh, okay, and I kind of like skid past that because I'm like, all right, like let's not like go there. Like I don't want to get into that kind of conversation. I just kind of felt like this is like kind of being like a weird, I don't know, it just was like kind of coming off really corny to me, and I feel like when I'm saying, like, it's coming off corny, is, like, he's, like, yeah, like, I feel like it was really braggy, so it was, like, kind of giving me, like, cornball, like, vibes, so I was just, like, yeah, let me, like, derail from that type of conversation, so I, like, jumped the gun, and then we were talking about it, and then, like, obviously the conversation got super fucking sexual after that, and then we were, like, talking about it. I think I, like, snapped him, you know, like, I keep my Rolodex of like nudes and shit like that. You know, I keep that shit. I told y'all, like, I put it password protected shit. And I have one that's like, okay, this is TMI, but I have my nipple pierced. So I normally, this is like my go-to one. I have one that's like kind of like a black see-through-ish type of shirt, and like you can literally see my ring, like my nipple ring. So that's normally like one that I normally send. It's a recyclable one that I normally like shoot out there. It's probably too TMI. You're like, bitch, why did we even need to know this? But you know, I need to set you in there, so that I need to set the place, the setting. I need to set it for you so you understand like where I'm coming from. So anyways, I sent him that. Then we started having conversations, and we're like, you know, discussing, you know, like he's talking about like what he's gonna do to me, like he was like showering or something, and then like I guess like he has like a seat in his shower, which I thought was fucking weird. I'm like, what are you, elderly? But like anyways, besides the point, not my business. So he has a seat, so he's like, yeah, like he's like, oh, like, I'm going to sit here and you're going to sit right on top of me, like, you know, riding me and all this shit. Like, the conversations were really good. Like, I'm not going to lie, I was very turned on in our conversations. And so we were trying to meet up, and we tried to meet up twice. So the first time I honestly was, like, fucking super, super fucking exhausted. And he, like, took forever to, like, let me know when it was time to go. Like, okay, let me rewind myself before I start going on a motherfucking rant. If I'm making plans with you, right? And like, you're like, all right, let's hang out today. You're like, let's hang out on Friday. Like, cool. We're talking on Friday. And you're like, I'll let you know, like, you know, when and where, blah, 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 blah. Right? Y'all, it was hitting like 8 o'clock. Motherfucker still hasn't like messaged me, whatever. And so I was like, and at this point, I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'm not waiting around for this kid. I'm literally not gonna. Mind you, a bitch shaved her cooch. Like, I was ready. I was ready to go. I was good, ready to go. I was ready for that shit. Bitch prepared herself, shaved my legs. Like, that was a big deal for me. And I went through all these trials and fucking tribulations to get my ass fucking ready for this man. Okay? So, I'm like, and it was like 8, it was like hitting 8:10, 8:15 at this moment. And I'm like, okay. All right, I'm like, I'm not going anymore. Like, at that point, I was like fucking over it. I was all set. So I like literally like lit up a fucking blunt and I started smoking it. Like, I had a pre-roll, I lit it up and I started smoking that shit. And then I was like, I had like a beer or two, whatever. And I like Snapchat messaged him because we didn't have we did not exchange numbers. And I just messaged him and I was like, hey, like, honestly, like, I'm kind of tired. I don't really want to do anything. And he was like kind of disappointed. I'm like, bro, you didn't even like really tell me like a time really when we were going to do this. And I don't have time to wait around for you. So I was very annoyed by that. And I was like, nah, bitch, like, I'm not going anywhere to meet up with you. And so that was like the end of that. That was the end of that for, we like put a pin in that shit. And so then he was like kind of talking like a really like big game about like what he's going to do to me and blah, 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 blah. And then like, so then we reschedule. So we reschedule. And I'm snapping. He's looking at my snaps. I don't really hear from him. I'm like, what the entire fuck? And so, like, I feel like at this point, like, looking back, maybe I should have just, like, been done with that situation. Like, maybe I should have just been done. But nope. You think I learn? I don't. I don't learn. So I end up like, you know, I end up getting into my head, and I'm like, you know, why would he do that? Like, you know, is this kind of like to one up me canceling the first time? Like, what was the reason? And I'm like, whatever. I just kind of don't really message him or do anything. Now I'm starting to like, I'm like, you know what? I think I like had snapped or something and he saw my snap. So I was like, okay, this man is actively on Snapchat and is like looking at my snap. So I'm like, okay. So I post the thirstiest motherfucking trap that I can think of to do without like showing too much or like my friends looking at my Snapchat and being like, bitch, what the fuck is this? Okay. So I do it, and of course, you know, motherfucker feeds into my motherfucking hands and like messages me, whatever, and I like call him out on it. And I'm like, so what happened? Like, what happened the other day? And he was just like, you know, he was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, you know, he's like, I overslept, and he's like, you know, blah, 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 blah. Give me a stupid ass excuse. I'm like, all right, whatever. So he was just kind of like talking to me and was just kind of saying that, oh, like my roommate, he lives with somebody. So he goes, my roommate is not going to be here till like 7. And I was working from home that day too. So he was just like, oh, would you want to like come over, or would you want to like take a walk? And then we can kind of see where it goes, see if we're feeling each other. And then then we can, you know, if we want to hook up, we can hook up. And I was like, sure. And then like the more and more we started talking, it kind of more seemed like the walk was starting to be non-existent anymore. And it was more like me coming over. And it was early in the day. So I was like, okay, whatever. It's not like nighttime, whatever. I'm good with that. Like, get a quick fuck and then like go about my motherfucking day. So he's like, we're messaging, and I'm like, all right, so what time? I'm like, I can be there around like 2 or I was like, I think I can be there around like 2 or 3 or something. Or I think I was like 1 or 2, I think. And because it was early at that point. And I showered, freshened up myself. And then I texted him. I was like, all right, give me your, like, I'm going to leave. And he's like, oh, like, I'm actually going to go on a quick run first. And I'm like, okay, bro, we're about to fuck. Like, you're about to do a whole exercise. Like, what do you need to run for? Like, what's happening here? And then he's like, oh, like, you know, he's like, he's like, I've just been really super sluggish. I need to, like, you know, kind of, you know, get off this, like, energy that I have, whatever, all this shit. I don't know. His explanation was stupid as fuck. I'm like, I don't know why you're going to run, but I'm like, all right, dude, whatever. He's like, I'm going to shower and then I'll like, then you can, like, come over. Like, once I come home to shower, you can come over, whatever. I'm like, okay. So he runs, comes home, whatever, and, like, sends me, like, a thirst trap video of him sweating and in his shorts, and, you know, he doesn't have a shirt on, whatever, he's shirtless, and, you know, sending me a thirst trap. And so I'm like, okay, and then he's getting ready, so I'm like, all right, like, let me know, like, when you want me to leave, whatever. He's like, oh, like, he's like, hey, you're gonna kind of hate me, and I'm like, not fucking again. He goes, oh no, like, I have to like go out for drinks with an exec. He's like, I kind of have no choice. He's like a really top exec. I have to grab drinks with him. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, all right, I'm annoyed at this point because I'm just like, all right, dude, like, don't do this shit to me again. I'm not going to fucking wait around for you. Like, this is not what I'm going to do. And so, anyways, he eventually hits me up, has the drink, eventually hits me up. And then he eventually hits me up. Then he gives me his address. I fucking drive there. It's like not far at all. I think it was like a 15-minute drive, which isn't far at all. And I literally get there. He's like, oh, let me know when you're outside. He goes, let me know when you're outside because I'm like, I have to give you a parking pass because it's permit parking on my street. I'm like, okay, no problem. Y'all, I'm like, I think I was talking on the phone with somebody. I'm not sure if I was talking to, I think I was texting my friends, my address where I was and, you know, my location. I was like, hey, like, make sure you're just looking at my location today. I'll text you when I get home. And like, obviously, my friends know that's keyword for, like, the friends I do have my location on. That's keyword for, you know, bitch, like, you know, in case something happens to me or I die, this man murders me or something, you know where I am, and my phone is, like, on. And even if my phone is off, it still, like, has that. I think iPhone has that feature that even if your phone's off, it can still find your location if you have it on. And I do. So, anyways, and I sent them a picture so that they had it. So I'm sitting in my car and he's like, oh, I see you. I'm going to come out. And I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting in my car waiting. And then I see this tall guy like walking towards me. And he's like kind of walks like pretty lanky. Like it was just weird. And so he comes and then I kind of put my window down and he like puts the permit in the, like in front of my window, whatever. Y'all, he doesn't even say hi to me. And I'm like doesn't even like really say anything to me. And just proceeds to walk towards his place. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, am I supposed to follow you? Like, am I supposed to follow this man to his place? Like, what the fuck is happening right now? So I'm standing, like, I'm walking behind him. I'm like, okay, this is awkward. I go inside and I was like, oh, do you want me to shut this? And he was like, yeah. And then that was first time I'm like actually hearing what his voice sounds like. I'm like, okay. I end up fucking, I'm like inside. His place is like, it's pretty big and it's like spacious. I shouldn't say big. It's super spacious. He's like, oh, I'll give you a little tour. And he's like kind of being really awkward. And I'm like, okay, I'm super uncomfortable now. Like, why are you being awkward? Like, why are we doing this? I get a tour and then he's like, oh, like, he's like, can I get you anything like to drink? And I was like, actually, I would love a water. So I get a water. I'm just kind of chilling. And then now he's like complaining about how he's like, oh my God, I'm fucking beat from a run. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, stupid. I don't know why the fuck you decided to go running. Like, you're a fucking idiot. And like, if you were going to do this, like, why the fuck did you even ask me to come over? Like, this is all the shit that's playing in my mind, right? And so he like he's like laying down like on his bed because we're in his room now. And he's laying down on his bed. I'm kind of like, I was like standing at first and then I was like sitting on the bed and then he's like, and then he was just kind of like, I was like, oh, like you're going to lay down. Like, are you going to fall asleep? Like I can go if you want me to. And he's like, no. He's like, oh no, like join me and stuff. And I was like, okay. And then, because now I'm like, all right, like what the fuck are we doing right now? Like, I'm like, you're really showing your age, dude. Like, what the fuck is actually happening? Like, is this what 24-year-olds do? Like, I haven't been like 24 in like 8 years. So I'm like, you know, is this a thing? Like, what the fuck? So now I'm like under like a blanket. He's under fucking 2 blankets, y'all. I don't even remember what the fucking weather was or anything like that. Oh my God. rewind for a second. I'm gonna rewind my story for a second, but before I like met up with him, I was like showing him my outfit or something of what I was gonna wear. And I think I had jeans on. I think I had like I had a bodysuit and I had like a flannel and I had jeans on, right? That was like my outfit. And I was like, ooh, my outfit is like fucking bad. Like it looked cute. And I had like these like I had these sneakers and everything was just chef's kiss. Like I thought my outfit was like fucking banging, right? And he was like, and I sent him a snap and he was like, and he replied back to me, is that what you're really wearing? And y'all, I was like flabbergasted. I was like, is this dude for real? Like, I'm not gonna hang out with this dude. Like, who the fuck is this guy? And I was like, yeah, why? And then, like, mad annoyed, like, super fucking annoyed at that point. And he was like, oh no, because, like, jeans are harder to take off. Like, I'm like, all right, boy. Like, motherfucker, what? Yeah, anyways, fast forward back to where I was at. So, now we're under like the covers, whatever. And he like kind of puts his arm around me and I'm like laying on him and like he's not really saying much. He's just kind of looking at me. And then he goes, and y'all get this, he goes, can I kiss you? And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah. I didn't know. I'm like, what do you say in that moment? Like, no. Like, what do you say? I'm like, yeah. Like, what the fuck? So I'm like, all right. Now we're like making out. It's getting like hot and heavy, blah, 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 blah. Then all of a sudden, like, my hand is being guided to like his dick. And then I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess like I'm going to give you like, I'm like gonna rub on you as we're making out, whatever. And then like he's doing the same. So like, I'm like, kind of feeling his dick to like, on the outside to see like what I'm actually going to be working with. And I see, I'm like, okay, like it's not bad. It's decent. So we're, kissing. And then I had sent him like kind of, he wanted a picture, like he wanted a Nats picture. So I like sent one of like, Roldex, sent another one. And I sent it to him. And so he was like kind of saying like, oh, like the position you were in that picture, like that's the position I want to be. He's like, I keep thinking about that. He's like, that's what I'm thinking about right now. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, my ass, I'm like, well, I mean, you can do the real thing. Like I'm here. Like it's real. I'm a real person. And so he's like, he goes, yeah, all right. And then, then we're like starting to fuck. And I'm like, okay, all right. And then it was done. Y'all. In my mind, I'm like, are you sure you did porn? Are you sure you did these things? The math is not mathing for me. The math is really not mathing for me. So, I'm not understanding how, and then I just kind of was like, I'm just like, cause we're in the, not to, whatever. Y'all know, I have no fucking filter. We're in the doggy position. I'm just like kind of leaning there. I'm like, kind of like, and I'm over the bed. So I'm not like on all fours, but like my feet are on the ground and my hands are like on his bed. And and I'm just kind of like, okay, that was it. That's all I got. I got a couple pumps and that was fucking about it. I'm like, pretty fucking disappointed at this moment. And then he goes, and y'all get this, he goes, I know that was like 3 minutes, but it's like 12 hours in dog years. And I just looked at him and I was like, you did not motherfucking just say that to me. You did not say that to me. That's not real, right? Like, it's 3 minutes, but it's like 12 hours in like dog years. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I need to put my clothes on and get the fuck out of this place. And he kind of like leaves. He like walks out and like goes into the bathroom and then like is there for a couple minutes, comes back, and like, you know, he's like, oh, like how tired he is and blah 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 blah. And like I could kind of tell that we weren't gonna go again. And I'm like, damn, dude, you like really need to redeem yourself, because that, like, what the fuck was that? And that's what I'm thinking in my mind. And so I'm like, all right, I guess I'll go and I'll leave so you can like lay down and shit. Because he like proceeds to like lay down, whatever. And the kid looks like he's about to fucking fall asleep, right? Obviously, I'm like patting myself on the back because I'm like, damn, bitch, like, like that shit did its thing. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you know, I'm like, okay, girl. But I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like, in another sense, I'm like, okay, like, you put this motherfucker to sleep. And then in another sense, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, damn, dude, like, for a supposedly porn star. And, like, this is, like, one thing that, like, drives me nuts. And I feel like when people, and this has been an ongoing experience. I feel when people say or start talking when they're sexting and they're like talking up their sex game, and like especially men, when they fucking talk up their sex game and like say that they're gonna do this, that, this thing and the other, whatever. And then when it gets down to it and they do like the bare fucking minimum. And I'm like, I just don't understand that. I'm like, I really wanted to say to him, like, but I was like, I like really wanted to be a savage about it and say to him, like, you know, you talked such a fucking big game to me via text, via like Snapchat text, and this is what you gave me? Like, you gave me some subpar dick, like, you gave me some subpar performance, like, what the fuck was that? Like, you gave me a couple pumps, like, damn, bro, like, did you have to take Viagra when you fuck? Because you clearly don't last long. And apparently to you, 3 minutes is 12 years in dog years, or 12 hours in dog years, or whatever the fuck you said, like, along those lines. Like, what? I just don't understand that. And, like, this is the second time this has happened. The guy that, like, I, like, fucking throat assaulted me, like, he did the same thing. Like, talked up a big-ass game and, like, just did not, you know, the math just is not mathing with these men. Like, it's just not mathing to me. Like, it's just not making sense. Like, 1 + 1 is, like, equaling 3. Like, it's just not making sense for me at all. So I'm just kind of, like, in a sense, like, all right, if the next guy that I fucking talk to in the terms of me wanting to fuck them, and they start talking a big motherfucking game about their dick, like their dick game, like they're talking like, they're like, you know, overselling themselves, yeah, for me, that's gonna be a fucking no for me. Like, I'm waving the red flag, like, that's what the fuck that is for me. Because it has just not been happening. And I'm just like, damn, like, how can you sit here, get me all fucking excited? Like, clearly you, like, turned me on because I met up with you, I wanted to fuck you, and you gave me this, like, subpar dick performance. Like, I don't even know what the fuck that was. And then after we fucked, you just started talking about how, like, your fucking legs are shot right now. Like, you literally cannot stand anymore because you're, like, you worked out your legs too much on running. And then, like, when you were, like, standing the fucking 3 minutes that you were standing, well, it was bent over and you were fucking me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just kind of like, what's happening? Y'all, that was the one and done. I never spoke to this man ever again. This was 2 Fridays ago. Never spoke to this man again. We are unmatched on Bumble, like, no longer friends on Snapchat. Yeah, that's just done. But I'm so, I can't just tell you how, like, fucking annoyed I was, because I just, like, And I had called my friend, so I like texted my friend back and I was like, hey girl, like never mind, I'm already home. And they were like, wait, what? And like my friend immediately called me and was like, you just told me not even an hour ago that you were to like check in on you. You're already home. And I was like, yeah. So that should already tell you where how the fuck my day went. Like how that fucking experience went. Like, damn. I feel like porn should be like your biggest selling point, right? Like for me, I feel like, or maybe it shouldn't. Maybe that was just me being like, oh, because he does porn, he like fucks a lot, so he'll fuck for a long period of time. He has a pretty big dick. I think I got like a pretty good situation. This is why I was super fucking excited to meet up with this kid, because I was just kind of like, okay, like I know I'm in for a good experience. I know I'm not like setting myself up for, I'm not setting myself up for failure, but low-key I was, because homeboy just gave me like 3 minutes of his dick. And like, granted, when you're doing quickies in their 3 minutes, I feel like it probably was less than 3 minutes. It like just, I kind of felt like he gave me a couple, and then I think by the second moan it was done. Like I think I had like 2 moans in and he was already done. Like that's how I feel like how fast it went. So like when he was saying that, I'm like, yeah, bro, what the fuck was that? Like what the hell was that? I'm really upset right now. And I have secondhand embarrassment for you. Like super secondhand embarrassment. Like I would not talk to me ever again either. Like don't talk to me. You know what I mean? Like I would be embarrassed. Like I don't, yeah, that's like a done situation. Like I'm done with like Mr. Porn Guy. Like I'm kind of done with it. Like obviously I don't talk to him anymore and we're not on anything, but yeah, it just, math is not math. He just was so weird. And then like when I left and he like kind of walked me out so I can give him his pass and stuff, he just was like, he's like, bye, have a good day. Like we just didn't hug. I just kind of like got in my car and I drove the fuck off. I just drove off. Because I was just like, that was a waste of my motherfucking time. Back to the drawing board, guys. Back to the drawing board. I'm trying to like, I feel like I am in this place. I feel like I'm in this place where I want like, I literally want a fuck buddy like this summer. Honestly, I'm hoping to find one, like a decent one. I feel like the last person I had that was a fuck buddy was just such a perfect situation where we, that was the basis of our relationship. Our relationship was us just fucking. And our basis was just, we just fucked. Anytime we like hung out, it was clearly, whenever I came over there or he came over here, I would literally go to his place. It was more his place than my place anyways, but I would literally go to his place. I would I would park my car, walk up the stairs, like, I would walk up the stairs, go directly into his room, and just start removing my clothes, and then we would just fuck. That's how our exchange was. And honestly, it was literally the best thing ever. Once we were done fucking, I put my clothes back on, and I fucking got back in my car, and I went home. That's how our exchange was. Like, you hit me up when you want to fuck, I hit you up when I want to fuck, and then we're Gucci. Like, and we had amazing sex. Like, I had such great sex with him. Like, it was amazing. And, like, obviously that shit, like, we had to end that because he moved. I think now he has, like, a girlfriend. I don't know. Whatever. But he moved and shit, and, like, that had to end. So, like, I'm really bummed about it. And I'm trying to have another situation happen like that again, where I don't have to, like, it's just it's a nice little exchange happening and going on and shit. So, like, yeah. I'm just trying to find that. And I thought, like, Porn Guy was gonna fucking be that person for me. I'm like, oh, this is convenient. He's young. Like, he's not gonna, like, because I don't want anything with him, like, emotionally or anything like that. So I knew this was going to be, like, a great situation. Like, I knew it was going to be good, whatever. Like, in my mind. That, like, scenario-wise, like, for me, that made sense. And when that was what I got, I was like, the fuck was that? Ew. But I just don't like that. Like, why is it that, like, you know, I don't know if, like, when guys do that, they're, like, trying to overcompensate for something. I'm not sure, because, you know, I just feel like the people that don't say anything or don't, like, kind of be, like, talk up their dick and be like, yeah, like, you know, I do all these things, and, you know, or I fuck for hours. Like, that's the famous one when they're like, oh yeah, I like to fuck for hours. And you're like, do you though? Because you only fucked me for 5 minutes. And now you're falling asleep. So, hours, bro? Like, I don't know. I don't think you have, like, a good concept on time. So, yeah. I just hate that. Like, why do men do that? Like, I really want to ask men, be like, why the fuck do you just talk up a big game? Like, don't say anything. If you don't know what kind of dick you're going to give me, don't sell me some imaginary dick that you're about to give me. Some imaginary, like, hour-long, like, orgasm-filled dick. Like, you're going to give me so many orgasms with this dick. Like, do not oversell your shit if you cannot back up what you're saying. That's like my thing. Like, don't talk a big motherfucking game if you can't back shit up. Like, and this is not like, you know, it could be like a situation like, oh, maybe he wasn't, like, no, I'm over these, like, I'm over these excuses to just, like, make excuses for, like, men that is like, oh, maybe it was his first time, like, you know, maybe he hasn't had sex in a long time, maybe blah, blah, blah. Like, no. This is your audition, bro. You failed the audition. This was your audition to, like, potentially be, like, a fuck buddy, and for you to, like, you know, like, we'll have, like, a good thing going, and you have failed that. Like, what the fuck you just gave me? Like, you're not going to get a call back at this moment. Like, I'm not going to call you back to, you know, to come back. Like, that's it. You're done. One and done. Like, we aren't going to talk anymore. Like, yeah. I, like, had him. Yeah, I think I had him, like, as a friend, like, I think I had him on a friend on Snapchat, and I think I just looked at it, like, maybe 2 or 3 times, and then I, like, deleted him. I'm like, yeah, I need to, like, delete this man off my shit, because I don't have time for this. But, yeah. It was quite the experience. 2 out of 10, I don't recommend. I feel like when I started this episode, I feel like I was going to talk. I feel like I was going to talk about one thing, right? Literally was just going to tell you guys this brief little fucking story. I've been talking for 40 minutes, plainly, directly, and only talking about this man and my fucking sexual experience. So instead of being an actual, like, fucking titled episode, this is just catching up with me on what the fuck my last dick experience was. And, you know, honestly, moral of the story, don't talk a big game if you can't back that shit up. Like, literally, moral of the motherfucking story. I'm just, yeah, I am extremely, like, disappointed. I literally went home and grabbed my vibrator and, like, helped myself out. Like, I was a big winner here, because I got my orgasm. I did that for myself. You know, treat yourself, you know? But yeah, so I am actually going to release 2 episodes this week. And I thought I was going to do, like, I kind of felt like I was going to do a catch-up episode, but I think this was not mainly supposed to be that. This episode was supposed to be, like, I kind of gave you a snippet of my story, and then I just kind of got carried away and, you know, spoke for, like, 40-something minutes. So this will now be my catch-up episode. You know, super transparent with you guys. I don't try and like hide shit. Listen, this was not supposed to be that episode. This was supposed to be an episode on something completely fucking different. And yeah, I sidebar and this is now a catching up episode. So I hope you guys really enjoyed my sex story. I hope to bring you more this summer because I am really gonna have, and I am determined to have a hot girl summer this summer. So giving zero fucks, fucking whomever I want, whenever I want, and just not having any regrets about it. Like, I don't care. Yeah, I'm already in the works of trying to make something else happen right now. So maybe the next time I do a catch-up episode, it will, it'll be on that. So it'll be on whoever these men like, or men or a man is, whatever. And yeah, and then kind of let y'all know what the fuck or what the heck's going on. But yeah, guys, I'm just so like, I'm like, damn. It just was such a letdown. I can't even like say it more. It just was such, it was that. But I will have 2 episodes, like I said, this week, and apparently this is my catch-up episode, and the next episode would actually be an episode of what I actually wanted to talk about. But I love you guys, and I hope you enjoyed the 2 episodes this week. Mwah! Bye!